Right on the heels of Dr. Mitchell, we're going to talk to Marc Carlin. Marc Carlin, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Thanks
for hanging around. I am very much looking forward to finding out more about your virtual gastric band workbook, because this really addresses weight loss and all the different surgical interventions that are being taken. And I'm sorry to say this, but I'm often consulted for making analysis of whether or not a person is mentally sound or not to go through these major surgical removements of intestinal tracts or shrinkage of their stomach. And I have rarely seen anybody be able to tackle these surgical situations with positive consequences. They may lose some weight, but I can go on and on about all the detrimental consequences that have occurred because of these surgeries. But I'm not going to do that other than to introduce that you all offer an alternative, my understanding is. And, Marc, people need to hear it, so talk to us about it. First, how do they get in touch with you, and what's the name of your book in full?
The name of the book is Sheila Granger's Virtual Gastric Band Workbook. It's the solution to the worldwide obesity epidemic. You can find the book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble online. The best way to contact me would be through my email, which is Marc, M-A-R-C, @hypnoticstate.com.
Okay.
And basically, the program that we offer is an alternative to a lot of other ways of losing weight. Most people go through a weight loss program that's focused on dieting, which I believe sets up a deprivation mentality, which has a boomerang effect. It brings people back into that terrible twos where somebody, parent says you can't do this, and terrible two goes, of course, watch me, and that's the kind of mentality that most diets work on. They tell you what you can and cannot eat. And I think that's, while that is something that should be a choice of what you choose to eat, what your diet should be made up of, and you should choose, my optimal goal is for everyone to choose a healthy diet that's healthy for them. But what you really need to do first is get in touch with quantity of food, get in touch with what your body naturally tells you what the right amount of food is. All of us who have ever been around infants or toddlers, we all know that infants and toddlers know exactly the right amount of food to eat. They'll get the nipple out of their mouth. They'll throw the bottle out of the crib. They'll turn their heads away from the spoon when they've had enough. They know. And that's us. We naturally know what the right amount of food is. We've kind of trained ourselves how to ignore it to the extent where a lot of us don't even know that we have it anymore. So what we do with the hypnotic process with this program is use people's imagination to get in touch with the quantity of foods that they're eating, and then start to make choices based upon knowing that they've had enough to eat.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
How does this program work? I mean, you're mentioning that using people's imagination. Can you kind of walk us down the path about how powerful our imagination is and what are you having people imagine in this virtual gastric band procedure?
Well, our imagination is extremely powerful. In fact, I think it's the reason why we do anything in our lives. We develop motivation, we develop fears based upon imagined results. When we think about an example of one of the ways our imagination works to our detriment, if someone that you love is expected to be in a certain place at a certain time and they don't show up, a lot of us start to think about what the negative connotations that could be.
Right.
Whether they got, hurt, or maybe they're in a hospital, why aren't they here, especially if it's a young child. Those are the things that our imagination starts to take hold of, and we can work ourselves up into quite a frenzy, increasing our blood pressure, causing a tremendous amount of stress, just using our imagination incorrectly. So the imagination is a very powerful tool, and that's what hypnosis, hypnotists, and hypnotherapists work with is people's imagination. Sometimes we have to train people to increase the effectiveness of their imagination, especially in a positive way. But most people that come or that are attracted to this type of a program, they usually come on board already having a pretty good imagination. And that's usually what attracts them in the first place. So we use their imagination, and we guide them through an imaginary surgery where they're given suggestions that their stomach has now shrunk very small. And because they're overeating, they're certainly eating way more than the size of their stomach anyway, because our stomachs aren't a rigid organ. It expands. But if you just ate the proper amount of food that would fit into the organ as it is, it would be way smaller than what most people's portions are anyway. So we use the image of a very small golf ball to hook people into a dramatic shift in the quantity of food. And it doesn't mean that they're going to be eating that small a quantity, but they are going to be eating significantly less than they were eating.
Wow. Now, how do you know that these procedures work, and is it for everybody?
Well, Sheila Granger, who developed the program over in the UK, she put it through a couple of trials, anecdotal trials, where she had close to a 95% success rate. It was anecdotal trials. These are 2 anecdotal trials. They were short-term, and we're currently involved in a medical school and university-sponsored clinical trial with a control group that the initial stages of it have all been extremely positive. Everyone in the initial time frame has lost weight. The results of the study will be published or will be finalized at the end of the summer or the middle of the fall. So we'll get more information. It's a little longer-term study than just going through the basic program, which is a 4-session program. Usually happens over about a month's time. And
how much weight do people lose within that month, on average? I know.
Yeah, the average from the trials that Sheila did was 7 pounds the first week and 1 to 2 pounds a week after that. The goal of the program is to sensibly just remove weight without dieting, without feeling deprived, on an average of 1 to 2 pounds a week. And when people come to me, when we tell them that, would you be happy losing 1 to 2 pounds a week without feeling deprived, without being on a diet, most people say yes. I mean, it is a sensible way of losing weight. It's not something that where you have to fit into a gown in a week's time to go to a wedding and you have 10 or 20 pounds to lose. That's not really what this program is about.
That's interesting. I mean, now, is this does this involve self-hypnosis or other sorts of procedures that take place in between the 4 sessions, or what's the commitment to people?
Absolutely. There's a commitment that we're looking to get from the client when they come in. We want them to they agree to follow certain guidelines, and the guidelines have to do with how you eat, when you eat. It doesn't have anything to do with the type of foods, so you can eat anything at all. Just eating within the guidelines is important. That's to train you on proper eating techniques. And as you do this on a regular basis, as you know, all habits are created over time through repetition. That's what we're looking to get them to do, starting to create these new healthier behaviors that become habits, and they're in opposition to the old behaviors that were unhealthy habits. And as you know, you can't have 2 opposing habits running at the same time, so it's either one or the other. There's also a self-hypnosis component to it that we have clients agree to listening to a recording, reinforcing suggestions while they're in trance, and that happens between the sessions.
I think that while you're being extremely clear and being extremely, clinical in terms of organizing everything, I think that I want people to really realize that this is a very liberating process because you're engaging your mind, your imagination, your subconscious into being able to look at your stomach at the size it probably should be anyway, and you're kind of like restorative experience because you're re-engaging with your body to go back to eating the little that it needs as opposed to the much that claim jumpers or whatever put on in front of us. So that this is liberating. This is absolutely liberating to go, oh wow, I don't have to eat all of this to feel satisfied. I can move into satisfaction with this wonderful relationship with my body, and satisfaction will return me to the size my normal body should be.
Well, Carol, that's extremely insightful of you, because one of the main responses that really gets me going is when people come in after that very first session, and it's almost like the window shades have been opened, their eyes are lighting up, they're thrilled to know that they're not broken. They've actually realized that there is a signal that they've been ignoring, and now they can hear it, now they can respond to it, and it just sets them up, it boosts their self-esteem. It is very liberating. It's a freedom to have that, to be able to have that choice.
Yes. In other words, the food in front of you is no longer making your choices for you. It's your connection with your body. And, yeah, that's beautifully said. Again, how can people get in touch with you? How can they get a hold of your book?
Well, we have a couple of websites for people, for doctors, therapists, and hypnotists that are looking to take this training. We have a training website called it's virtualgastricbandtraining.com, and for people who are interested in seeing me for their personal needs, my website is virtualgastricbandnewyork.com, and that's New York spelled out.
Okay, do both of those again, one more time.
Yeah. The training website is virtualgastricbandtraining.com, and my hypnosis practice website for the Virtual Gastric Band is virtualgastricbandnewyork.com, and New York is spelled out. There's also one other website. Since we've been training, we have over 500 trained medical doctors and therapists and hypnotists around the world. There's a website that's devoted to the directory for those that we've trained in the States. It's called virtualgastricband.net.
Beautiful. Marc Carlin, thank you so much for giving us yet another intervention into having a better relationship with our body and food. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Carol. Thank you very much.
Take care.